ladies and gents, the new season is right there on our doorstep. The 2025 season, it should be an absolute cracker, and it's now my time to put my neck on the line. The 2025 season predictions. It's all new here, new studio. I hope you like it. I'll be giving a tour of that soon once I've got it all sort of slightly sorted out. It's still a bit of a mess, but let's jump straight to it. 25 predictions, the championship from first to last, and the teams, who's going to win the Constructors Championship and who's going to end up rock bottom again. And we're going to start with last place, and I've gone for Jack Doohan. I don't think he will last the whole season. Sorry, Oz fans. Watch him now go and get a point on debut in Australia, but now that I've just said that, but I really think it'll be a struggle for him. The Alpine, it's a mixed one. The car looks better in testing than it has done in previous years. They ended the season last season on a high, so they've got all the trappings to go and prove me wrong here. But Jack, I think, will struggle. He's got an awful lot of pressure. Every rookie's got pressure on them, and this guy has got Franco Colapinto waiting in the wings, and I think that will just really unset him a little bit. So last place for Jack Doohan. 19th place, Gabi Portoletto, the Brazilian new kid, and I just think the car will be so poor. They are really looking to 26 already, these guys. They were slow in testing, and I think just having that rookie season, yes, the pressure will be off him, but he still needs to perform, and I think he'll really struggle. I think he will see through the end of the season. He's got really good hopes. I mean, he won the last 2 championships he drove in, so really awful lot of talent, this kid. So I really expect him to, do okay, but I think it'll be a struggle for him this season in that car, especially. 18th place, Isaac Hadjar, another rookie. Big things expected at the Racing Bulls. They weren't great last time out, and I think he might struggle. He's another one, fire-headed. We've watched from his previous seasons. He's fiery over the radio, this character, and he's a bit like Yuki. Will he need tempering down and just, getting that first season under his belt? And I think it will be a struggle for him. Also, 17th place, Nico Hulkenberg, and I think the car won't be as good this season as it was last season. He might nick some points here and there. We know he's capable of doing that, and I think that'll be the difference between him nicking a couple of places ahead of Gabi Bortoletto, but I think it'll be a real hard one for these boys in Sauber. Testing showed they've not really bridged any gap. They've got big boys coming in, but it'll take some time for them to settle and bring that car to where it needs to be, in 26 is really where they've set their sights, haven't they? 16th place, Esteban Ocon. Like I said, I just don't think the car will be there for him. He's new to the team. He's got an awful lot to go through, and will that just bear down on him a little bit too much? He's an absolute fighter, Ocon. We all know that. We've seen that from his previous seasons, but this one, I think it'll be difficult for him. I'm just going down to the car not being as good as probably he expects him to. And then 15th place, Ollie Berman. I've got him beating his teammate in the end, but I think it'll just be so close and only just a couple of points and a couple of places here or there in a couple of odd races. Ollie has got the most experience, or proven himself the most out of the rookies so far. He hasn't. He got a couple of races under his belt last season. This one, completely different prospect, a full season in swing for him. Let's see how he gets on, and I've got him to beat his teammate, and if he can do that, that'll be brilliant, and I think it'll be a real good battle between the two this season. 14th place, I've got Lance Stroll. I think the car won't be much better than we've seen. Stroll hasn't really done anything over the years, either has he. And I just don't see where or what he can do, that little bit of magic that you need, that Fernando can bring out of this car. He's really struggled. Adrian Newey has joined, but he's only been a few days in the job. By the time he gets his thoughts and ideas along, I think that more impacted 26, potentially towards the end of the season, where we might see these guys turn things around. Or will it be that they just need to scrap the whole thing, work on the issues and try and get upgrades that actually work for a change, and that'll be the big one for them this season. 13th place, Yuki Tsunoda, and I've got him doing much better than his teammate Isaac Hadjar is back up in 18th place. Yuki's got a difficult season ahead of him, this one. All rumours pointing that he won't be at the Racing Bulls next season. But he's got a fight on his hands. Where does he find himself a seat for next season, if that is going to be the case? again in testing. I don't think the Racing Bulls has made that big of a jump to see how well they can do, but I think Yuki is now, what, a good few seasons in now, isn't he? So I'm sure he can pick up some points where he can. 12th place for Alex Albon. I think there'll be a much better year for Williams overall. The car looked really, really good in testing. It's the first time in a couple of seasons. Last season they had a terrible start. The car was all over the place. This time they would still bring in parts, and that seemed to be the issue for a whole of the year last season because of the amount of crashes they had. This year they've set themselves on the right footing and they're just heading in the right direction. Albon, though, I think he will be shaded by his teammate this season. But I do kind of hope he proves me wrong a little bit. I do really like Alex. 11th place, Fernando Alonso. Again, more down to the car, but I think he'll do much better than Lance Stroll. We've seen this guy. He's an absolute jet legend. He just gets the car to perform. He gets it to dance how he wants it to dance. And boy, he's got another season. I really hope that he can just get into 26. Rumours are that they've got a big contract and hoping to get Max in there for 26. But I really hope Fernando Alonso gets to work and he will have a spring in his step, knowing that he's got Adrian on his back to, really pull all the little gadgets and all the performance out of this car this season towards the end at least. But a solid enough 11th place for Fernando Alonso. 10th place, I've got Pierre Gasly, and it's really difficult to see where this Alpine will line up with the rest. Will they be as good as last season? I don't think they'll be fighting into the top 5 teams. I think it'll be more of a struggle for them this season. But they'll be close to best of the rest. Pierre Gasly was the form man, or one of the form men at the end of last season. He was absolutely brilliant in that car. And have they done enough to push it forward to nick a couple more places? Who knows? Time will tell. But I think it'll be a tricky season for Pierre Gasly to navigate this time around. 9th place, I've got Carlos Sainz. Breaks into the top 10. I think it'll be he had a brilliant last season, but I think it'll be a really good first season for him in the Williams. Will he show what he's got and then move off to pastures new and get himself back up into a top team, which for me, I think this guy absolutely deserved that. This guy can really pull off some magic. I do think he might even pick up some good points in the first race in Australia. He loves that race. He's gone well there historically. He won there last year after what was one of the races of the season for me after his appendix. And this year he's going in strong. He seems to have a spring in his step a little bit, knowing that Williams are heading in the right direction, and I really kind of hope he goes well also. 8th place man, I've got Kimi Antonelli, the new man at Mercedes. I think it'll be a good first season for him, but not spectacular. I think we'll get a mixture of races from him, some absolutely spectacular stuff where it kind of shows exactly why he's been the man that Mercedes wanted. But I just think there'll be some errors in there. We've seen that in his practice sessions. Testing, actually, he didn't have many mistakes at all. So, was that the last of we've seen there? But I think going in first full new season, his first race will be Australia, and I think some errors are to be expected. Mercedes will be expecting that. They don't expect anything to be the real deal, but they just expect moments of magic, brilliance, show his raw speed, and I think it's just really time management, in-race management, which he really needs to get to grips with, and I think that will be a struggle this season. 7th place man, Liam Lawson, and he's got one of the toughest jobs of all the guys that have moved up and changed places this season. He goes up against Max Verstappen, and I think he'll have a struggle because he's going to have a car that's really will be tailored towards Max Verstappen, and can he get the team around and get his words in and really get the team to try and build a car that works for both drivers and not just Max, something that Sergio Perez really struggled with throughout last season, cost him a seat in the end. Lawson, I think, will have more on his side. He's got time, his youth, he's got the talent, he's got all the fiery guts, everything that you need from a young talent going into Formula One, and especially going up against 4-time world champion Max Verstappen. But I think it'll be a bit of a struggle for him to try and reach them heights. I think he'll struggle a little bit more than Kimi, but just the fact that he's going to have probably a better car than the Mercedes will, that will see him beat Kimi Antonelli to that 7th place in the Drivers' Championship. 6th place, bit of a surprise here. I've gone for 6th place man, I've got Oscar Piastri, and I think this will be a bit of a surprise actually, because McLaren are going in the top favourites for the title. Some saying he's going to win numerous races. I wouldn't bet against it, but what I've got him down for really is because I do expect him to have some good races early in the season, but I think when he gets into that pressure of title contender. I think that's where he's really going to struggle, and then potentially the mistakes and errors will come in, and that will see him drop down, I think, down to 6th place. I think it'll be more of a struggle for him this year than last year. I think the car was significantly better than a lot of the competitors last year. This year, though, I think the grid being really tight up, we'll see more of a race for him. He's struggled with tyre management. He got to grips and got better at that last season, but I think this season he might struggle a little bit more. Let's see how he gets on in that position. 5th place, George Russell in the Mercedes. I think it's going to be a better Mercedes, a more consistent Mercedes, but I just don't think they'll be quick. I think they're just going to be fighting with the Red Bulls. I think Ferrari and McLaren probably have a little bit too much for them. Don't expect them to do anything magnificent, but the odd race wins here or there. I think they'll definitely be in with a shout for a couple of wins. But it's really down to how much and how good they've got this car set up, because really that's what they really did struggle with last year. They kind get on top of this diva and these new regulations, or will they just think, you know what, after the first couple of races we've not done what we needed to do, let's scrap the whole idea and work to 26. A lot of the guys up front, if they're not fighting for the title, will be looking to do that. So Mercedes, unfortunately, I kind of expect it to go that way for them again this season. 4th place, I've got the man that everyone is almost tipped to win the title, or if not, be runner-up in the title, but I've got him as 4th place, Lando Norris. Like I said, a lot of people's title favourite, but I just think the pressure of that this season really tell. We've seen that last season. Did he really get on top of it? Was Abu Dhabi really enough to show that he's got the mettle? It was a brilliant drive for him. If you watch my season review on that, I just thought, will that be enough to tick all the boxes? But as I've seen, sort of just got closer to this season, I've just got this feeling inside that it probably will be a bit more of a struggle. I do think, like I said, all the other cars will be a lot closer to McLaren, and they won't have the races all their own way. Kind of what we've seen last season, where they probably dropped races they should have won last season, and this season, I don't think they'll have that car, and any little mistakes like that will really cost them a couple of places rather than just the one place where they kind of messed up last season, and that's why I see Lando Norris in 4th place. The top 3, 3rd place, I've got Max Verstappen. I think he's going to lose his crown this season. He's already said going into the first race of the season, Australia, that we won't be there. We don't expect to be there until probably like race 4, potentially 5, until we get to grips with this car. He actually the only driver that didn't complete a full race distance. His teammate did potentially a race distance, not really quite though, did they? Did 44 laps, Liam Lawson, the max that they got in terms of race distance out of that car. They were just working on sit-ups, different sort of ideas, and with them doing that so far late into testing, it shows they've still got an awful lot of questions to answer, and I think that's why it'll be a struggle for them. And then again, like everybody else, will they be focusing on 26 early? They absolutely mastered the regulations going into this season, when the regulations change, and I think they know the importance of that and what that can mean. Will they be willing to just not quite give up a season, because that's not Red Bull, but close enough to doing something like that where they just sort of say, let's if it's not there early doors, let's focus on 26 and like absolutely smash these regulations, and we can go from there and hit it big in 26, because that'll reap dividends for not just one season but multiple seasons if they can get that right. In 2nd place, I've got Charles Leclerc for Ferrari. It was a fight out for me for the top 2 of the Ferraris. Charles Leclerc had a brilliant season. There's no two ways about that. Last season, going in towards the end of the season, it was absolutely the 4-man. Him and Ferrari were absolutely quick. They come in as the dark horses. Yes, the black horse of the Ferrari will shine again. I've got them to just absolutely dominate towards the middle and end part of this season. They've gone in, like I say, dark horses. McLaren, everybody's focusing on them. Yes, they're testing pace on day 2, I think it was Lando Norris when he pulled in them laps on race distance and race stints. They were absolutely tremendous.